Hey, what's up, y'all? Y'all good? I hope so. Y'all, let's go ahead and get into it, baby, because somebody feel like they should have cheated. So, when Monica woke up the following morning, Nate was laying beside her. She didn't wake him. She just got out of bed, took her shower, and got ready for work. She went downstairs and fixed her breakfast. When she went into the dining room to sit down, Nate was sitting there in his robe. Monica paused at first, but she went ahead and sat down as if he wasn't there. Just as she was about to put the food in her mouth, Nate said, "You could have made me something." The spoon was frozen in midair as Monica contemplated going off on him, but she didn't. She just kept eating and kept ignoring him. Nate opened up the newspaper and created a barrier between them. Monica just looked up at the paper, wondering why didn't he have an explanation for why he didn't show up for their anniversary. She wasn't even able to finish her food because she didn't even want to sit at the same table as her husband. She took her dishes to the sink, washed them, grabbed her things, and headed to the door. When she reached the door, she heard Nate call her name. She turned around and Nate said, "I'm going to be home late again tonight, so don't wait up. I just thought you should know." And then he lifted the paper back in front of his face. Then Monica couldn't hold back. She slammed the door and said, "Just thought I should know. How about letting me know why you stood me up for our anniversary?" Nate lowered the paper, looked at Monica, and said, "I had a lot of things on my mind. It wouldn't have been a good night for that. You could have at least came home. We didn't have to go anywhere. We could have just been together." "Well, I wanted to be alone." "Oh, really? Hmm. So if I felt like staying out all night, didn't call you or anything because I felt like being alone, would that have been fine with you? You're a grown woman. You can do what you want to do." Monica just stood there shocked and saddened because it no longer sounded like he was being selfish, but more like he really didn't care. I see. I see perfectly. She stood there for a moment and then walked out of the door. When she got to work, she told Tabitha that she called Louis last night and told him that she would go with him to see the Lion King. "Nate forgot about your anniversary, didn't he?" "No, he didn't forget. He said that he wanted to be alone." Tabitha reached over and hugged Monica and told her that she was sorry. And she asked her, was she going out to see the show to spite Nate? And was she planning on sleeping with Louis? And Monica gave Tabitha a serious look in her eyes and said that she didn't know. After work, Monica called Louis to make sure that they were still on for the night. He told her yes. Monica gave Louis her address and told him to park around the corner from her building and to call her when he was a block away. Monica went home, took a shower, picked one of the most seductive dresses that she had. She did her hair just the way Louis liked it, and she did her makeup. She sprayed herself with one of her favorite perfumes, and then her phone rang. It was Louis letting her know that he was outside. He told her where he was driving, then she grabbed her things and met him outside. When she approached his truck, Louis was standing on the passenger side looking as handsome as ever, and she could see the big old smile on his face. Louis gave her a hug and told her that she looked incredible and that she smelled good too. He helped her into the truck and then they were on their way to the show. Monica would catch Louis glancing over at her every time they made it to a red light, and he complimented her the whole ride. And if she hadn't been so neglected by her husband, she would have gotten tired of it, but she loved every minute of it. They made it to the show and they were fourth row center. They shared an armrest, so their arms touched the entire time. At one point, Louis laid his hand on top of hers, and then he eventually wrapped his hand completely over hers as if they were a couple. Monica thought about pulling her hand away because she thought that allowing him to touch her like that was disrespectful. But at the same time, going to lunch with him, giving him her number, hugging him, and allowing him to pick her up was just as disrespectful when it came to her marriage. So why make a big deal out of him holding her hand? And plus, she was thinking about doing something else that really would have been disrespectful. After the show, Louis asked her if she enjoyed herself, and she said that she had. They looked at each other awkwardly for a minute, then Louis said, "So, I guess this is it. I should be getting you back." "No, I don't have to go back now." "Oh, well, do you want to go get something to eat?" "No," Monica said, thinking for a minute to make sure she was certain about what she was about to say. And then she told him, "I want to go back to your place." Louis was shocked. They made it to his house, and Louis led her into the dark living room, and he was about to turn on the lamp until Monica told him, "Don't. I want to go to your room." Louis couldn't believe what he was hearing. He looked at her and asked her if she was sure. She stood there thinking about herself waiting all night for her husband, and then about him saying that he wanted to be alone on their anniversary, and she told Louis, "Yes, I'm sure." He gently grabbed her hand and led her upstairs. As she walked behind him, she told herself that she was certain about what she was about to do. She wanted to cause Nate pain. She was reasoning with herself, saying that he wasn't going to find out, but whenever he said anything hateful to her or treated her like a stranger, as if she wasn't deserving of his love, his attention, and respect, she would think back to what she did that one night with Louis. Since he was treating her horribly, she would do something horrible too, and they'd be even, and that would make her feel better. At least she hoped it would. Louis's bedroom was dark, but the moonlight coming through the patio doors gave the room a silver glimmer. They stood at the foot of Louis's bed, and he stared down at her. The look in his eyes made Monica feel like he had feelings for her, but she was sure she misread that. Louis stepped closer as if he wanted to kiss her, but Monica wasn't there for that. She told herself that she was only there to get D down and nothing else. So she started unfastening his belt buckle. She looked up at him and told him that she wanted him. She was trying her best to manufacture some fake desire, so Louis started undressing her as well. His pants dropped, her dress dropped. She helped him with the buttons on his shirt, then he unsnapped her upper garment. He took in every piece of her. He couldn't believe how gorgeous and how fine this woman was. So he pressed himself up against her, and she felt him pulsating against her as his big hands held her back and slid down the contour of her waist. Monica kept telling herself that she was not getting turned on. She was there for the deep. She was not doing this for enjoyment, only to get back at Nate. Just then, Monica got caught off guard by the way Louis was able to lift her up so easily. She wrapped her legs around him as he laid her gently on the bed. Louis was just staring at her, and she was staring at the bulge in his Calvins, which were on the verge of busting through. Louis pulled down the front of his briefs, and that thing jumped out like a jack in the box. He wrapped Monica's hands around it, motioning her to stroke it. He moaned, and Monica felt her disc start to harden, and she told herself, "That's not supposed to be happening." Louis noticed it too, and he reached down and grabbed one with his fingers and gave it a slight pinch, which sent electricity through Monica's entire body. He told Monica that he wanted her, and she said that she wanted him too, but she wasn't sure if this was still a part of her act. Louis then positioned himself on top as he took one of her melons and let his tongue explore it so passionately that she felt those feelings that she knew she shouldn't be feeling. Then he did the same to the other, but this time with quicker motions, and he lowered himself a little more, using his knee to part her as he was preparing to enter. Monica still had on her Vickies, but Louis didn't seem to mind because he pressed himself against her as though they weren't even there, and that excited Monica beyond her expectations. Her disc got harder, and Vicky was about to tell her secret, and it started to slowly make its way onto the bed. Louis must have sensed that that was his cue, and he pressed the tip of that pipe into the fabric. Monica's eyes widened. He lowered himself even more, and Monica accepted his tongue as if she was accepting him. She started pulling him closer so that she could receive more than the tip, but then all of a sudden, she regained her senses and told him no, as she pushed her palms against his chest, forcing him off of her. What? I said no. Louis moved to allow Monica to climb down off the bed. Monica was wrong. Monica said that nothing was wrong as she started gathering her things, but something was wrong. She was feeling that really feeling it. She was loving the taste of him, loving how he felt against her. She wanted the pipe to be laid, and it didn't matter if Louis had feelings for her at that moment because something told her if she had let him push them things to the side and slide through, she would have been on her way to falling in love with him, her damn self, and she couldn't have that. She was able to regain her consciousness and let him know that nothing was wrong. She just had to go. She told him not to question her, just show her where the bathroom was so that she can go and change and get up out of there. 30 minutes later, Monica was back home. She swung open the door, peeling off her jacket and calling for her husband. She kicked off her shoes and started taking the stairs two at a time. Nate, are you home? In here. Nate got up and was headed towards the bedroom door. Then Monica walked in, closing the distance between them. She threw herself into his arms and pushed him back on the bed. She got on top of him and started trying to unbutton his shirt, but it wasn't happening fast enough for her, so she ripped the shirt open with buttons flying everywhere. What are you doing? Nate asked while sitting up. He was so lost. I want you. I need you. Monica was kissing her husband all over his body. He tried to push her away, but Monica wasn't having it. She locked her hands around his wrists and forced them above his head. When she felt that he was no longer struggling, she continued to kiss him all over his body. She was able to get his pants where she wanted them, and she was about to speak into that mic, but to her disappointment, he was not there. But she refused to let him win. She wanted to be intimate with her husband. She lifted his wilted member and did everything to get him there. But even with all the stroking and rubbing and pulling, Monica was not about to find out how many licks it took to get to the center of the Tootsie Roll Pop because there was nothing happening. She looked at him with frustration in her eyes because she didn't understand why was this happening. He just looked back at her blankly and said, "You can't be forced, but maybe we could try again tomorrow." Monica stormed out of the room, but Nate, he didn't follow her. She ended up in the bathroom on the main level. She slammed the toilet down and she just put her face in her palms, trying to figure out what is going on because she has gone so long without it. And when she needed it, really needed it the most, he still couldn't get it up. Bet you that wouldn't have been a problem for Louis. No. I can't be thinking like that. I can't be talking like that. But I just can't. She didn't want to go back there, but her mind took her right back to Louis's bedroom and what would have happened if she just stayed. Monica started searching under the vanity for her long-lost friend that she didn't think she would ever have to pull back out. But she did. And she stood in front of the sink, placing one foot on top of it and letting Big Daddy do his thing, as though it was Louis. As she moved in the same motions that she felt Louis would move in, she even turned Big Daddy up to a level 10 and rubbed him all across her secret places. Then she imagined Louis asking if she was going to come for him, and she started saying, "Yes, God damn it, yes." And just when she was about to let it flow, there was a knock at the door, and she heard a voice say, "Monica, what are you doing in there?" She immediately cut Big Daddy off, looked towards the door, praying that that was her imagination. Then she heard it again. "Monica, what's going on?" It was Nate. She dropped Big Daddy behind the toilet and told Nate that she was shaving her legs just in case he heard the humming noise. And Nate was wondering, Why is she shaving her legs? But he asked her if she could come out when she was done. She did come out after some time, and she went upstairs to see what he wanted. Nate was saying something, but she didn't pay much attention because all Monica could do was think about how she was going to get back into Louis's bed. Nate, the next day, Nate pulled up to Taylor's bar with a lot on his mind. The other night, while at Tori's, she handed him an envelope with some names and numbers on it. Nate wanted to know what was it. They are some numbers to private investigators. You said you needed to hire one, but I haven't heard you say anything about it since then. So I thought I'd help you out. Did I say I needed your help? Well, you haven't said much of anything anymore. Do you still want this, Nate? Do you still want me? Yes, and I keep telling you the same thing over and over. This has to be done right. And you can't speed this along no matter how much you want to. You made me a promise, Nate. You're going to do what it takes to keep it, right? Yes, Tori. I told you that I would and I will. Nate felt like things were getting out of hand. Tori was becoming more and more restless and very demanding, and Nate would have to figure out a way to settle her before she did something more than put together a list of names. But right now, Nate had something else that was bothering him, and he knew that part of it was that his plan required him to treat his wife like he didn't care about her anymore. Over the last week and a half, he noticed every attempt she made to make things better between them and for them to be intimate. He wanted to tell her that it was just the pills, but that would ruin all of the work he had put in. He remembered the night he came in and she was all dressed up in her nightgown. He knew she just wanted to be close to him, feel loved, but he couldn't do it. So he left her standing there in all of her glory as though she wasn't important to him. And then there was the anniversary. Nate agonized about that one for a minute because he made sure that every anniversary was special. But if he was to recognize that night or make her feel special, she might take that as a sign that they were back on track. And when Nate finally had Louis make his move, Monica might hold out. So for that reason, he could not acknowledge it. So he went over to Tim's. It was around 8 that evening. Nate, what are you doing here? Isn't it your anniversary? Can you hang out for a while? Nate, what's going on? Tim, can you hang out? Yes or no? Tim told him yes, and they went to a bar. Nate told Tim everything that had been happening, and Tim just looked at his brother in disgust. You need to go home right now and try to salvage your marriage. I can't. It's all a part of the plan. The plan? Bruh, you are treating your wife like Do you get a kick out of that or something? No, I hate it. I still love her. Well, you could have fooled me, and you're probably fooling Monica. Look, I'm still angry as hell with her for lying to me, for not telling me that there was a chance that she wouldn't be able to have my children, and I don't think she should be rewarded with millions of dollars for doing that. But I do still love her. And what about this Tori chick? Do you love her? Nate thought the question was unfair, but he told Tim that he was going to marry her when she had his kid, and then he'd love her. But do you love her now? Listen, that's not important. You don't. So forget all of this nonsense. I'll pay the tab and you go home and make it right with your wife. Put your wallet away. We ain't going nowhere. I hate what's going on. I really do. But I'd rather go through all of this pain right now than the pain of never having children of my own. Nate was looking right into his brother's eyes, and he felt like in that moment, his brother understood him. Now Nate was here to meet up with Louis because even though he had been speaking to him every day, Louis never told him that he was planning on seeing his wife in the evenings. But then again, it was only a suspicion of Nate's. But when Monica came home that night and he saw what she was wearing, his suspicions were all but confirmed. Monica practically tackled him. She seemed feverish, as though there was something else that was driving her to want to be intimate so bad. Nate tried to talk to her after that, but he didn't get much out of her. So when Nate got to work the next morning, that's when he called Louis and told him to meet him at Taylor's. Louis walked in and Nate waved him over. Louis spoke and extended his hand, but Nate just told him to sit down. He asked Louis if he was enjoying his life. Was he comfortable? Louis said yes. Nate noticed that Louis did get a haircut like he told him to. He looked different. And if Nate had known better, if he had known the boy for who he truly was, he probably would have fallen for that facade too. But the only thing that Nate could say to himself was, well, you created this lie. Then Nate looked at Louis and said, did you F my wife last night? No. Did you try? Louis lowered his head, then looked back up again and said, no, Mr. Kenny, I didn't try. All we did was go out to see the Lion King last night. And why didn't you tell me about this? I talked to you yesterday. Because I didn't think you wanted to know every little detail. Nate took a sip of his drink, gave a little chuckle and said, I saved you from the streets. I gave you a new home, clothes, money, a job that pays you $5,000 a week. I don't care what you think. You tell me anyway. As a matter of fact, from now on, tell me everything that you're planning before you do it. And you definitely let me know before you try to sleep with my wife. Do you understand? Because if you don't, I would hate to see you back on the streets, or even worse, in prison. Okay? Okay, y'all. Let me know. Let me know what you're thinking. Let me know what you're thinking. When Monica went over there and she was almost there, what do you think about that? Would you have went on through with it? When you got home and wanted to let all that out and want your husband to relieve you of that stress, and he couldn't, how mad would you have been? And how would you feel if you were Louis, with this man seeming like he mad because he think you did what he paying you to do? Y'all get down in the comments. Let's talk about it. Thank you for liking, sharing, and subscribing. And I'll talk to y'all later.